After 42 years of marriage, I discovered the truth, and it changed everything. I never imagined that at 70 years old, I would be learning how to breathe all over again. For more than 4 decades, my life followed a rhythm so familiar that I stopped noticing it. Morning coffee at 6, the sound of the newspaper folding, her footsteps in the kitchen, always slower than mine, always careful. Margaret and I were married for 42 years. We raised 2 children, buried one dream, built another, and believed, truly believed, that whatever storms life brought us, we had already survived the worst together. That was my first mistake, believing that time itself was proof of loyalty. When you're young, love feels loud. When you're old, love becomes quiet. It sits beside you. It reminds you to take your pills. It asks if you slept well, and slowly, almost invisibly, it can turn into habit. Margaret and I weren't unhappy. That's what made everything harder. We didn't argue. We didn't shout. We simply existed side by side, like 2 old photographs in the same frame. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, plain envelope, no return address. At first, I thought it was a bill, or one of those charity requests. But inside was a single sheet of paper, typed, no signature. It read, "You deserve to know the truth. Your wife has been living a second life for years. I'm sorry." That was it. No explanation, no proof, just enough to poison a peaceful afternoon. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. The clock kept ticking. The kettle went cold. At 70, your heart doesn't race the way it used to. Instead, it sinks, slowly, heavily. I told myself it was a mistake, a cruel joke, someone confusing us with another couple. But doubt, once invited, doesn't leave quietly. That night, I watched Margaret closely. The way she folded her sweater, the way she avoided my eyes when I asked about her day. I had seen those gestures before, not in her, in myself. Years ago, when I kept secrets I thought were harmless, I didn't confront her, not yet. At our age, truth feels dangerous, like a fragile object that might shatter everything it touches. Instead, I waited, and in waiting, I began to see things I had ignored for years. She had started volunteering late afternoons. She guarded her phone like it was something sacred. She hummed when she thought I wasn't listening, a tune I didn't recognize. None of it proved anything. But together, they whispered. The truth came not through confrontation, but through kindness. One evening, Margaret slipped on the stairs. Nothing serious, just shaken. As I helped her to the couch, her phone fell from her pocket. The screen lit up. A message. "Did you get home safe? I worry about you." It wasn't from me. I didn't read further. I didn't need to. After 42 years, you know when your life has quietly changed shape. That night, I didn't sleep. I remembered our wedding day, her laugh, the promise we made not just to love, but to choose each other every day. Somewhere along the way, we stopped choosing. The next morning, I made coffee like always. I set the mug in front of her, and I said calmly, "Margaret, how long have you been lonely?" She froze, not angry, not defensive, just tired. That was when I knew the letter had been true. She didn't deny it. She cried as the quiet kind of crying that comes from years of holding things in. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she said. "I didn't plan it. I just felt seen again." The affair wasn't dramatic. No hotels, no wild passion. It was companionship, long walks, conversations, someone listening. And somehow that hurt more than anything else. She told me it had lasted 7 years. 7. I tried to imagine 7 years of shared jokes, shared silences, given to someone else. At our age, time is the most precious thing we have. She had given it away. I asked the question every betrayed spouse asks, "Why didn't you leave?" She looked at me and said something I will never forget. "Because I still loved you, and I was afraid that if I left, I'd lose everything." Love and fear tangled together. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I simply felt old. Old enough to understand that people don't always betray out of cruelty. Sometimes they betray out of emptiness. For weeks, we lived in silence. Two strangers sharing memories. I considered divorce not out of anger, but dignity. At 70, you don't start over easily. But you also don't want to die quietly resenting the person beside you. One evening, I found Margaret sitting with our old photo albums. She was crying. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said, "but I can't pretend anymore." That was the moment I realized something painful. We had both been pretending. I hadn't cheated, but I had withdrawn. I had stopped asking questions, stopped touching her hand, stopped noticing her sadness. Neglect can wound just as deeply as betrayal. Forgiveness didn't come quickly. It came slowly, through uncomfortable conversations, through therapy sessions that felt humiliating at our age, through choosing honesty over pride. She ended the affair, not because I demanded it, but because for the first time in years, we were truly speaking again. Today, we are still married, not because it was easy, but because after 42 years, walking away felt like abandoning our entire story, not just a painful chapter. I don't tell this story to excuse betrayal. I tell it to warn. Love doesn't disappear suddenly. It fades when you stop tending to it. If you're listening to this and thinking, "We're fine, we've been together forever," ask yourself when you last truly listened. Forever is fragile. And even in old age, hearts still ache to be seen.